I'm watching my cat eat, and it's disturbing me. Today we're going to talk about transcending evil. If you're a demon, I suggest turning off this video. This is not for you. If you're a vampire, go away. Because at some point in our life, we will face evil. And you will either face it in the external world, or you will face it by looking in the mirror. Probably both. And of course, where there is evil, there is suffering. And the more suffering there is, the more in hell we are. But what we might find is that those who go through hell, those who experience the most suffering, have the greatest opportunity for freedom and awakening. Sometimes the way to heaven is through hell. And sometimes religion can make us a bit neurotic in fearing all that is evil, fearing the darkness. It's probably even a biological thing, because when the sun goes down, that's when the monsters come out. You know who you are. And so I believe there's an inherent fear of the darkness. But the dark is not something that we can run away from. There is no escape. So we'll have to learn how to deal with it. That is what I am here to help you with, if you need help. If you don't need help, we all need help. You see, right now outside it is windy. It's storming. There's even some rain. And it's very nice, it's very peaceful. But it's only peaceful because I'm indoors. If I was out in the storm, that would not be so enjoyable. And so where you place your identity determines how you experience the storm. Let's take the storm as difficult situations in life, the suffering, the chaos, and the turmoil. And so there's two ways we can perceive the storm. One way is being up in an airplane looking down at the storm, and the other way is perceiving and experiencing the storm directly underneath. These two experiences of the storm are two completely different things. If you are in the storm, it is a whole different definition of the word than if you're flying above it. On one end, you have a problem and you need to find a solution. There is suffering. There is a requirement for change. And in the other situation, there's no problem at all. There's no need to do anything about it. But you see, the two individuals in this made-up scenario are actually the same person, if person is the right word. It is the same being. Everything relies on where you place your identity. For instance, if my identity is placed on my body, then anything that happens to my body, I experience that as happening to me. So if I stub my toe on a coffee table, then I will say, ouch, I'm in pain. The Buddha says there are two arrows that create suffering. One, the first arrow, is the natural pain that sometimes arises from just being human, from being in a body. And then the second arrow arises from our reaction to the first arrow. And so, if I stub my pinky toe, there are two ways this can go. It can be, ouch, I'm in so much pain, I'm so angry right now. And you kind of ruminate for a moment on the pain, on the situation. You find something to take your anger out on. You find somebody to blame or something. You can see a lot of the time we have this kind of knee-jerk reaction to things. And that is what it's like to be in the storm. And there is a second scenario where there is pain arising and pain falling away. There doesn't need to be any reaction to it. But because we've lived our whole lives in the habit of reacting to our circumstances, to our environment, that is just our natural response. When in reality, suffering is not created from any experience or situation. All suffering is created in reaction to it. Suffering is created in the mind. That does not mean you will not still experience pain. Pain is a natural byproduct of being alive. But that does not mean in any way you have to suffer. If you place your identity upon your mind, then anything that happens to you psychologically, you will experience that as happening to you. So if somebody is mean to you, you will say, I am hurt. Or if somebody makes you angry, you will say, I am angry and you made me angry. If you have a negative thought, you will say, I am having a negative thought. I don't like this. Stop. And this occurs because you become one with the negative thought from your identity, from your belief. You become one with the anger. You become one with the pain. And so you and that experience are one. And that is the illusion that all the great spiritual teachings talk about. That is what many have said is the source of all suffering. It is that we have latched our consciousness, that unchanging consciousness, to objects of our experience, to things that are changing in our experience, when in reality we are an eternal, unchanging consciousness that manifests as our awareness. And that consciousness is tricked into believing that it is a mind or a body or a personality. And that is the drama of life that all humans have experienced. But you see, the moment we can begin taking our identification away from the objects of our experiences, when we can come to realize that we are the unchanging awareness in which all experiences arise and fall away, then you become non-attached to the experiences that are arising. So if you feel pain, if you stub your toe, pain arises, pain goes away. If you're experiencing a troubling time, if there seems to be problems, there are problems, problems go away. You do not need to attach your identity with the problems, with the struggle, with the pain. That is how you place your identity as the individual in the plane above the storm. You see, because for that person or for that individual, there is no problem. There isn't even a storm, because the definition of the word has completely changed its meaning. So too, once you come to this realization that you are the unchanging awareness that is consciousness, then what was once a problem for you is no longer a problem. What was once a struggle is no longer a struggle. It is the same object of your experience. It's the same thing, but you have changed, and the meaning that you give to those experiences has changed. Most people are operating in ego consciousness, which simply means that I have a strong sense of individual identity. I am separate from the environment. I am separate from everything. And what the ego does is that it's always judging the experiences. And so what I suggest trying is, rather than judge your experiences, which create suffering, just allow them to rise and change without reacting to them. And this is our most natural ability, because this is the default state. And the more we can get in the habit of not reacting to our experiences all the time, then we find that suffering begins to diminish more and more and more, because we approach life from the state of the unchanging. We have a solid foundation. There is safety, there is protection. But without this realization, without the unchanging, then we are on a roller coaster of being attached and identified with all the things that continue to change in our reality. And so there's no stability, there's no safety, and there is a lot of suffering.